Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining the second Smarts Connect webinar. If you, some of you may know, we're doing this a second time around. We had quite a few people come to the first one, so we decided why not do it again. And if you have any questions along the way, please leave them in the chat, and we have staff that will be here to help you. If you can stay muted through the presentation, that would be great. And we're going to definitely save time at the end for questions and comments so that we can support you before the hour is up. So without further ado, I'm going to get started. We are here today to talk about this new Smarts Connect curriculum for executive function. And our agenda today is pretty brief in terms of what we're going to talk about, but we are going to cover kind of a little bit about who we are in case you're not familiar with Research ILD and our take on executive function, a little bit about our approach for executive function strategy instruction, how do we teach executive function and why do we follow certain best practices, and then what you guys are probably mostly here for is to dive into the Smarts Connect curriculum. So a little bit about Smarts Connect, and if you are a Smarts user from our classic curriculum, what makes it different and unique. And then you'll get a sneak peek into the elementary, middle, and high school curriculum. So a lot to cover in an hour, but we'll make it work. All right, so who we are. My name is Jessica Chisolo. I'm the Smarts Director of Curriculum and Instructional Design, and I'm here today with two of my colleagues, Megan and Sophia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Megan Bowers. I am the Director of Digital Learning. Thank you so much for being here. And just as we're going along, if you have any questions, feel free to just ask them in the chat. I know Jess mentioned this, or message me directly, and I will try and answer any questions as we go along. Or if not, I'll give Jess some time at the end to answer questions. But welcome.
And hi, everybody. My name is Sophia Poznachowska. I am one of the instructional designers who has been working on these curricula, so I'm really excited to show you what we've been doing.
Great. All right, so we're going to dive right in. So who we are, we're Research ILD, or the Research Institute for Learning and Development. We're a nonprofit organization. We work with young children all the way up to adults with learning differences and executive function challenges. So all of our content for our SMARTS curriculum is based on the decades of research done by the staff at Research ILD, and most importantly, our president and director, Dr. Lynn Meltzer, who most of you probably have heard of or know, but she's written numerous books for classroom engagement and executive function. And all of our curriculum, again, is based on years of research and development of executive function strategy instruction. So there's just a quick glimpse of some of the books that we use in the classroom, and we use one-on-one with our students. SMART stands for Strategies, Motivation, Awareness, Resilience, Talents, and Success. And it's lifelong strategic strategy instruction based on the foundation of being self-aware learners, right? The whole purpose of our executive function curriculum is to develop learners who understand who they are, where their strengths and challenges are, and how to use strategies to help them succeed along the way. We've been around for a while. We are currently expanding our reach even further than the data that you see here. But it's really this slide always makes me smile because we are in almost 3,000 schools in almost all the states, and 48 states currently right now, and 38 countries. So that's pretty impressive, and we continue to grow, which is fantastic. We have close to 25,000 educators who are using our strategies at conferences, trainings, and workshops. And that's just our data from 2024. But we feel really proud that we're reaching a lot of educators who are using the SMARTS approach with their students and their staff. And then most importantly, right, we're all here for our students. And almost 780,000 students are learning executive function strategies with our SMARTS program. So that's why we're here, right? The fact that, and that's something I want to make sure I bring to your attention, is that we recognize that we have a lot of people interested in executive function, and that's a win right there. We know that that's an area that our students struggle with, and just understanding that and saying, hey, we need students to be more aware of who they are as learners and how they learn successfully. That's step one into academic success and success outside of academics in the real world. So thank you so much for being here and thinking about your students and what they need in terms of executive function. So our executive function paradigm at SMARTS are based around these five cogs, right? So a lot of times when we think of executive function, we think of organization, right? That's like the number one thought that tends to come to educators' minds, and it's true, right? Organization of materials and information is definitely an area that we focus on. We also spend a lot of time with goal setting with students. Goal setting is important because oftentimes our students don't understand how to set realistic goals and goals that they can accomplish by breaking them down and setting doable steps. We focus on cognitive flexibility, so helping our students understand things in a brand new way by shifting flexibly, wearing a different hat, approaching things in with a perspective of what their expectations are, in depending whether it's academic expectations or behavioral expectations. So that cognitive flexibility is a big one. Accessing working memory, so being able to kind of juggle all that information in their brains. So short-term memory, long-term memory, and then that working memory. Like how do I pull forward what I need to use right at this moment? And then self-checking or self-monitoring, also recognizing one's most common mistakes, but also understanding how to regulate emotions and behaviors that can help them be more productive in the classroom and better learners and better classmates and students. So all of our executive function curriculum units and lessons are based on these five executive function cogs, we call them. And then when we think about those wheels and how those gears are turning and working together, they all are fundamentally built upon the idea that our students need to be metacognitively aware of themselves. So developing their self-understanding is a crucial component for executive function strategy instruction. So you'll see when we talk about our curriculum, only when students can take a step back and learn about themselves and how they develop their strengths and challenge and what their challenges are, only then can they be open to using strategies successfully. So that metacognitive awareness is really important for the best practices in EF instruction. And we use this word often with our younger kids, and it's kind of neat to hear them walk around saying metacognition or my funnel's clogged, which we'll talk about in a minute. But building that vocabulary, that executive function vocabulary, is a really powerful tool, especially at the young ages. And just like I mentioned, clogged funnels, right? So you're here because you're probably recognizing that students are getting stuck, right? They get this thing what Dr. Meltzer defined as the clogged funnel, and they're unable to perform because they don't have the strategies that they need to be successful. And it's not that they're not capable, they just get stuck. Right. So if they're missing homework or they forget answers on a test or they just kind of shut down, something appears too difficult, it's often because their funnel is clogged and they need to pull some strategies from their toolkit. And that's our job, right, is to help them develop these strategies for success. And that is with executive function strategy instruction, right? Everything that they do in and outside of school requires some sort of demand on executive function. So there's nothing, magical about it. It's not a switch that turns on. It's not something that all of a sudden they snap their fingers and they have it. It's something that needs to be worked on and developed over time. And we like to refer to it as adult superpowers, right? We think about everything that we do in the course of a day and every step that we take, every task that we complete, we are using executive function. So it's not something that we're requiring our students to do to be successful. We're requiring them, all of us need executive function strategies to be successful. We all have our EF strengths and we all have our EF challenges. So it's nice for our students to be able to see that we as adults also are in the same boat. And then I just love this quote because it summarizes the importance of executive function strategies, because more so than IQ or socioeconomic status, EF strategies and being able to understand who we are and how we approach tasks and how we approach learning is more predictive of success in school and beyond than anything else. All right, Sophia, your turn to share.
So I will be talking about the instructional intention behind all of the curriculum and the lessons in the curricula, and also a little bit about the sections within each lesson. So, as Jessica mentioned, all of our strategies and lessons are based on research that Dr. Meltzer has done. And this is just the research paradigm that that she follows that we then incorporate into our lesson. So our executive function strategies always incorporate elements of metacognition, so understanding how students engage with the strategy and how they think about it, an understanding of the self and what they need to make those strategies work for them, and then also some motivation and how to get them excited about learning these strategies. So this is a little bit of a breakdown of each lesson, and you'll see in our lessons that we always have a section that's
No idea what you want. You just keep saying, grandma.
The, the intention of this is to get students to start thinking about how they think about, let's say, goal setting, right? Like, what does goal setting mean for them without actually learning a strategy first? Then we model strategy use, or that's the guided where the teacher shows a strategy and how to use it. And then students practice it for themselves, and then they reflect. And every single lesson follows this instructional model. Yeah, so you'll see that in one of our lesson previews. Additionally, we have some of our curriculums are broken down into explicit instruction, into then how to incorporate that into academics, and then how that works, how that strategy can be applied outside of school. So in explicit instructions, students are shown step by step how the strategy works, and how that strategy, like the just what the strategy is explicitly. It teaches goal settings explicitly. Then they are given that strategy and asked to apply it into an academic setting. So help them kind of process specifically how they would use that strategy in school, and in more obvious learning settings. And then we ask them to apply that strategy in a real world situation. So in our high school curriculum, we ask students to apply strategies to, learning for a driver's test, or, how cell phone usage is, how they engage with cell phone usage. And it's really interesting because it also helps students to incorporate executive function strategies outside of school, because executive function is everywhere, right? And we really try to nail that in our curriculum. And then also, we're all about metacognition, so just developing independence, developing self-understanding and self-advocacy. And there's so many opportunities in our curricula for students to bring themselves into it. So all of this is kind of our guiding post for designing our lessons and curricula.
Awesome. Thank you, Sophia. Yeah, so that's a breakdown, but kind of best practices. And again, some of you who are familiar with our SMARTS curriculum, a lot of that may have been familiar to you. So we still follow that paradigm there. All right, just gonna let me click forward. So we are currently launching in August two new SMARTS Connect curriculum, which is the elementary and the high school. But currently we have our SMARTS Connect middle school already available. So these are our next step programs, meaning that we're taking our tried and true research-based SMART strategies and we're just using a new, more engaging, developmentally appropriate, and exciting platform for students to engage with the curriculum. The three main goals of SMARTS Connect is, self-understanding, that metacognition, setting you up as educators for success has been really important to us. So making it easy for you to implement the curriculum. We want you to be able to just click and go, have all the materials at your fingertips, have all the scaffolding done for you. Everything that you need is at your fingertips for this. And the academic application parts and the real world application parts, hopefully help you to get that student buy-in that you're looking for so that you're not reinventing the wheel. And creating a engaging learning environment is you'll see that in the platform that we use for the curriculum because there's videos and all sorts of wonderful things in there that keep engagement and attention high. Who should use it? Everybody. We want everyone using it. And everyone, we've been really fortunate because we've had quite a bit of people piloting our program and our high school and our elementary program. And we've had in the middle school program, we've had gen ed teachers use Connect, special education teachers use Connect, counselors, social workers, independent educators, homeschool groups. We've had a really nice array of people using our curriculum. So in order to, support executive function across the grade levels from elementary up through high school, we need to have strategies for our students to use and teach explicitly those strategies so that they can use them as different academic and or real world demands are placed on our students. So, and again, repeated practice is really important, improving executive function. So you'll see that we weave in kind of repeated practice of different strategies and different elements of our curriculum. So it's not like, they learn it once and they go and they apply it and everything's happy and hunky-dory, right? We need to continually repeat and explicitly teach these strategies, and students will then buy into what strategies work for them, right? We don't expect them to learn and grasp and use all of the executive function strategies we teach. As long as they are aware of themselves as learners, they're going to find a few that work for them, and that's what we're looking for. This trajectory I really like because it just shows you the scope of our curriculum and how it started, back in 2007 with some mentoring and programming and working with schools in the greater Boston area, and then how our first pilots and our classic programs developed in 2014. And now we're really pushing forward with our middle school, elementary, and high school curriculums just in the past couple of years. So the Connect curriculums are taking on their own life and trajectory themselves. Okay, so what's different between SMARTS Classic? So some of you may be SMARTS users who are looking at Connect and thinking about switching over or just want to learn about what the difference is. So we have our SMARTS Classic, we had two different curriculum. We had our elementary curriculum and we had our secondary, we still have them, our elementary curriculum and our secondary curriculum. What we've done for Connect, if we've broken them down to be target more developmentally appropriate grade levels. So we have now elementary grade that services students typically grades 2 through 5, middle school for grades 6 through 8, and high school for grades 9 through 11. However, I want to be really clear that executive function isn't a one-size-fits-all grade level approach. In fact, our curriculum only says elementary, middle school, and high school on the teacher-facing materials because we recognize that some older elementary kids may, depending on the students in front of you, if it's gen ed classroom or something like that, they may be ready for the middle school executive function curriculum. That might be a better fit. Or there might be some small EF skills, sixth grade students who may be better serviced with the elementary curriculum, but they will never see the word elementary, middle, or high school on the materials that they see, whether it's on the screen or handout. So just an understanding that is really important because there is some gray area, right? Depending on the students that you have in front of you. And because your license for SMARTS Connect is not per student, it's per teacher, you have the ability to try something, and if it doesn't work, or you say, you know what, I want the middle school one for my fifth graders. I am a fifth grade doing fifth grade executive function, and they're better off at the middle school one. I want to take a look at that, and I think that's a better fit. We can transfer your license. So we just want to make that clear that though we've broken it down, there's gray area depending on the students you're working with and their developmental level of executive function. So that's something that's really important to think about when you're considering Connect. Our lessons are, standard SMARTS lessons and strategies are still being taught. What you'll see in SMARTS Connect is there's more choice. There's more support and scaffolding done for you. Explore more features like challenges or extensions in learning. And there's more integration in academic content areas. So we had a lot of feedback that teachers would love more. How can they use this strategy in math? How can they use this strategy in core subject matters or homework or projects? So we've done a thoughtful job in integrating that into our lessons. Like how can students see the meaning behind this in more academic content? The format is a lot different. So this is where you'll probably see a bigger difference. Our Smarts Classic was PowerPoint and handouts. And Smarts Connect is an interactive lesson format. It's digital, so it's web-based, and there are embedded videos, digital activities where students can manipulate the screen. You can manipulate the screen, drag and drops, all sorts of features that you'll see in a minute. But we still have our tried and true handouts that are fillable PDFs, and for students to write or create portfolios and whatnot. So we still do have our handouts. And then last but not least, student reflection, probably the most important takeaway for the SMARTS curriculum, because we understand that if students don't have the time to reflect on the strategies, the buy-in drops. So we want to make sure that there's different opportunities for students to engage with how did this strategy work for me? Who am I as a learner? What are my strengths and challenges? And how am I doing, right? So we have our strategy reflection toolkit and strategy reflection sheets that are from the classic curriculum. What we've added to Connect at the middle and high school level, if some of you are familiar with the Metacog, Megan's going to talk about that in a minute, is our Metacog surveys and data collection are now a part of the Connect curriculum. So it's not a separate license anymore. If you get Connect, you will have availability for the Metacog as well. And then another thing that two quick things that are different. In every lesson, we've added a formative assessment at the end of each lesson so that not only are students reflecting on the strategy, but you as an educator can get a quick 3-question exit ticket to see if your students understood the lesson material itself. So for example, what does a can-do goal stand for? What is an effective strategy look like? So it's more about the content rather than the strategy use itself. And then we've also embedded digital portfolio options for the middle and high school. So you'll see that in a minute. That those digital portfolio options are really powerful because you can, once you create a copy for your class, it becomes theirs. It's a Google Slides package, and it's for students to drop and respond to the curriculum digitally in a portfolio that can follow them throughout their EF journey, whether it's multiple grade levels, different classes. But that's another feature that's brand new to the Connect curriculum. But probably the most important feature is the Metacog, and I'll let Megan jump on that. She's our Metacog person. So all yours, Megan.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we are very, very excited because Sophia, can you just push the slides forward? That'd be awesome. We're very excited because the new Connect curriculum, our Metacog survey and toolkit is included as part of the curriculum. We actually just had a question. Our Metacog survey is available at the elementary level. We like to encourage probably these starting at grade 5 and above. But again, your learners, and kind of like Jess said, there's flexibility within the curriculum. So we are happy to talk to you more about that. I'm going to just walk you through quickly what these surveys are, and then feel free to reach out with more questions. But yes, these are online surveys that students take. And as Jess and Sophia have talked a lot about, a big piece of our belief is that metacognition and self-awareness is key to students, accessing and learning their executive function strategies. So these toolkits were designed so that students can take an online assessment tool and answer questions that do two things. One, in the Me survey, it helps both students and teachers to understand their strengths and challenges when using strategies. In terms of their effort in school and what strengths they have and what challenges they have. and what helps them to persevere when they have difficulties. So there's a number of multiple choice questions and also some reflection questions that students answer. And then the Stratus is designed to highlight students' understanding of their use of strategies. So are they using strategies with planning and organizing and memorizing and shifting, all of those cogs we talked about earlier. So these two assessments are done online. These are simply you generate I'm sorry, uh, a link for students. I'm losing my train of thought. You generate a link for your students and they click on the link and they can take these two surveys. We recommend doing them on separate days. But the great part about these is once these reports are completed, you can see two samples here. And actually, Sophia, if you can go to the next page. As soon as these surveys are completed, two things are generated. One, we generate a student survey. So students will get the results of their survey, and it kind of talks to them about these are your strengths, these are your challenges, these are some recommendations we have for you. This is why you feel challenged in this area, and this is why you feel strengths in certain areas. So it kind of is for the students. We also then have class reports, which are generated for the teacher. So once your students have all taken the survey, you will get a class report in which it will summarize kind of the key findings of all of your students on both surveys. The greatest piece about this is if you see here over on the right-hand side, based upon your results, we also recommend lessons both for individual students and for your class. So once they've taken these surveys, and these are great tools to use, at the beginning of the year, and we like to say, with the Stratus, once they've started to learn strategies, kind of to go back and take that Stratus a couple times so they're able to actually really reflect on, oh, was I using strategies and what, how have I grown with my strategies or maybe I thought I had the strength and I didn't. So again, how this aligns really, really well with our curriculum is that we also suggest lessons, again, for both the individual students within your population of students and for your class as a whole. So that kind of helps direct guiding your lessons. So we like to think of our lessons as being fluid. So don't go from unit 1 to 8, but think about your population of learners. And the Metacog kind of guides that for both you and your students. And really why I love the Metacog, just, coming from a teaching background, is I feel like it really, really does help students to buy into the strategies they're using and really having to concretely think about themselves as learners from the start. So yes, these are now part of our Connect curriculum, which we're very excited about. And I'm always happy to answer questions about these surveys and toolkits.
Yeah, thanks, Megan. Yeah, it is such a powerful tool. And, again, trying to save you time by, taking the 10 or 12 minutes it takes for the students to take these surveys, saves you time. And oh my gosh, where do I start? There's 7 units. SMARTS is not meant to be taught in one. You're not supposed to go right through the units all in one year. It's modular. It's based on the students in front of you and what they need and where their challenges are. So it does save you time to find, what lessons and units work best. So like Megan said, it's just from a teaching background, it's a game changer. It's great for parent-teacher conferences too. Really powerful for those showing parents the student surveys, the results, and their progress. Right, seeing how they've changed, taking the Stratus 2 or 3 times a year. How that is, how they've developed strengths over the course of time through the strategy instruction. So thank you, Megan. Again, she'll answer any question you have on that Metacog. It's such a great tool. All right, well, moving forward, I'm going to turn it over to Sophia. You're gonna see glimpse into our Smarts Connect elementary program. So again, if you're a Smarts Classic elementary user, you're going to the students are still getting those awesome smart strategies. It's just presented in a very different way, a lot more engaging curriculum, opportunities to engage with content, and we've really focused a lot on scaffolding and helping you to reach those second graders all the way through those fifth graders that you might have in front of you. So all yours, Sophia.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to do a quick little overview and then we'll actually jump into a lesson. All right, so these are the units that we have designed in the elementary curriculum. Like Jessica has been emphasizing, this curriculum is non-linear. So it's not, you go from unit 1 to unit 7. It really depends on what your students need. So you can start at 7, you can start at 3, you can end at 1. So it's just, we've just organized it this way. But it really, you can just engage with it however is most fitting for your students. So here's a little sneak peek at the actual lesson, at one of our lessons. And as you can see here, in our original curriculum, it was in a PowerPoint presentation, and now we have created it to be way more colorful, way more interesting, less text and more visualization, because we recognize that some elementary school students are still learning how to read, and we didn't want to focus too much on text, but it's really fun. There's a lot of drag and drop, a lot of, clicks and choices, and it's just a very, very engaging curriculum.
And isn't some of it, Sophia, there's audio too, right? So they can click the audio button and it will read the slides out loud as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, they're just, audio. It's a really great, very accessible for our youngsters. Additionally, each lesson will begin and end with about a minute and a half video. In the beginning, in our activator, we just present the strategy or the concept that they will be learning. And then at the end, it's a quick recap. So it's just like a fun way for students to learn about a strategy or an executive function concept. And all of our videos are house made, so you'll see all of our characters and our fabulous video producers. So it's a great resource. Additionally, we have revamped our handouts. They are also more visuals, more engaging. We have different presentations based on what grade you're in. So a second grader would most likely be getting a different handout than a fifth grader. And I'll get into how we organize that a little bit later. But this is just a sneak peek at our handouts. And also, we have made them both printable and digital. So you don't, if you're working in an LMS like Google Classroom, you can just post it into your classroom and students can engage with it from there. So we've touched all our bases. All right, so let's take a quick peek at a lesson. So this is a lesson 2, unit 4, short-term versus long-term goals. So just quickly to mention, this is the platform, the website where you will be accessing all of the lessons. It gives you a summary. All of your resources are down here, so you can print them here. Yeah, and then, just the objectives. And this button is where you begin the lesson. Okay. So so you can navigate the lesson both with this menu tab or clicking next or previous. We recommend the menu tab just because it kind of helps break down the lesson, and you can see it from like a bird's eye view. And as you can see here, we have both the teacher preparation section and then the actual lesson. The teacher prep is, teacher facing. Students don't need to look at that. But the lesson itself is here. So this is the student facing lesson. All right. And then just quickly to note, in the teacher prep section, what we have done is we have broken down the lesson up here just as it is here. And this is just for teachers to also have another space to grab their handouts that they will need for the lesson. The objectives are found here. And then also what we've done is we've kind of helped explain the lesson to the teachers through our key takeaway. It really just kind of provides the intention behind how we set up the lesson. So why, we have a video here, or like, what the intention is, for like what the students will be doing during this part of the lesson. And then we've also created tips for teachers. We've tried to anticipate what challenges your students might be facing, or what you might be facing as teaching this lesson. or I need tips that like might, take the lesson a little bit further or might help, teach it in a different way. So we've really tried to make this as streamlined for you as possible. And all of these resources you can find in the teacher prep section.
And just
Um,
a quick note too, you guys are seeing the pilot format. So if you see anything funky, like, something looks misaligned or there's a weird color or even a typo, we're in pilot phase till the end of May, and then, we're going to be launching the true curriculum in August. So if you see anything, I'm always like, want to make aware that this is in its raw phase. So we are building and working. As you're looking at this, we're making our edits and our modifications in the background. So just had to put it there. I
yeah,
saw something, Sophia. I was like, oh, wait.
things, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Any like things like that, but the overall structure is going to stay the same. So let's pop into the lesson. Okay. So here we navigate with the next button, and each section of the lesson will have this kind of like title page. And again, just a summary of what you're going to be doing in this section, where you're at, so you can navigate. Um, and so this is lesson 2. So what we do in all the lessons after lesson 1 is to have a little like a recall section, just to, help students kind of remember what they learned last time, to be able to then move forward, having that fresh in their mind. And then this is the video, just
No.
so, we watched a little minute and a half video that introduces the lesson. And then, yeah, and then we have different activities. I'm just going to go into the guided really quickly. So in the guided, this is, our animation, our fun little activities that the teacher will model the strategy that they're learning. But it's just way more engaging than just a slide. So yeah, so this is our guided. What the kind of bread and butter of this new curriculum is our independent practice section. And just to emphasize that, we recognize that second through fifth grade are, like very different, emotionally, socially, academically, and we really wanted to honor that. So what we did was in our independent section, we have um, different just things, like different levels kind of that students can engage in. So we have level A that usually provides more scaffolding or not as higher level thinking questions or prompts, and B, there's less scaffolding and a little bit more to talk about, a little bit more abstract concepts to consider. And we did this to be able to help, fifth graders engage with the lesson, as well as not being too challenging for second graders. As you can see here in our right section, there's just a little bit more scaffolding or like less questions for students to engage with. Whereas in section B, there are more questions, more prompts to engage with. So we really just wanted to make sure that your students were being seen and heard based on like where they're at. So yeah, so this, and also, you can start with A, and then if you want to do more lessons, or repeat the lesson, you can go on to B. As you can see here, there's so many options for your students to practice the concepts or the strategies that they're learning. Again, honoring different ways to different interests, and kind of letting your students step into the lesson rather than imposing the curriculum onto them. So yeah, so it's just a fabulous way for students to just kind of have fun and really practice their strategies. And then we have our metacognitive wrap up again with the video, and then a knowledge check just to kind of see if there are any knowledge gaps that we can catch. And it's a way to kind of like provide that reflection that we've been talking about. And that's going to be in every lesson. And then, confetti and fun, like, because this is, elementary, we have to keep it interesting and colorful. Um, and who doesn't love confetti? And then, we've got lesson extensions where you can just kind of take this lesson even further. I mean, you could probably teach this in like, for 6 months if you wanted to. So you have a lot of options as an educator, to kind of meet like your students' interests and needs. And so, yeah, so that's our.
Sophia, can you just go back to the independent practice? I just want to
Sure.
note something that I always like to share. So that so there's choices of how students are demonstrating the strategy understanding, right? And then within those choices, there's the A and B. So, we like to think about our time. Your time is precious. Some of you only have 15 minutes to do something like this a day. Some of you may have an hour, but you need to break it apart into, a morning meeting time or, right before a math block, you might have time. So, doing the discuss option might only take 2 or 3 minutes, right? But doing the create option, if you have extra time, might take a lot longer because they're cutting and pasting or they're painting or drawing. But all of the choices and all the levels within the choices, the A and B, are going to help your students practice that strategy. So there's just it's a lot of it depend on time and, like Sophia said, interest and how your students engage best. The digital path where it says one-on-one, that last circle over there, that is for those settings where you are sitting with one or two students, and then it's the digital path. So they would actually be taking control of the screen and manipulating and typing in their responses. So that's the digital path, is that kind of one-on-one or very small group approach. We've had teachers use centers for this. So they may have a support staff and a couple of kids might be doing the right section and a couple of kids may be doing the acting and they're discussing, and then they may rotate. So they're practicing the strategy in a few different ways. So there's a ton of choice and flexibility for you as the educator with this curriculum to reach all your students developmentally appropriate where they are, and also interest wise and time probably is the number one, I would say.
Thank
Right? How
you.
much time do you have? Yeah, no, I know. It's just like some things yeah, but this is important to spend a lot of time on this section. So, awesome. Yeah, Sophia, that was it. That was just my
Yep.
only other jump in there.
Yeah.
Only other jump in. So getting into middle school and high school, we're going to kind of combine based on time. I want to make sure we save time for question and answer. Um, Middle school and high school are very similar in the platform style, so you'll see a more sophisticated approach in the curriculum and the way the students see it. The biggest difference between middle school and high school is the fact that, it's just the content, right, is more appropriate for middle school versus high school. The 7 units still follow the tried and true SMART 7 units, so you're still getting the 7 units. The biggest difference between the Connect curriculum and the Classic at both middle and high school is we have lesson levels. So kind of what we talked about before, our launch lessons explicitly introduce a strategy. Our academic application lessons connects that strategy to a specific academic task. And then real world, my favorite, allows the students to bring that to life. Why is this important to me? Who cares? Why does it matter? I don't need this, outside of school. Yes, you do. And why, right? Why and how? So the middle school lesson levels are 3 tiers. So you could essentially be like, you know what? I'm teaching cognitive flexibility every single lesson in that unit this year, and I'm going to do all 3 lesson levels because that's a goal of ours, or the Metacog has shown that our kids are not flexible thinkers. So you could do all 3 lesson levels and all the lessons in one year and just only hit upon 2 units of the SMARTS curriculum. Or you may be a school or a district, or you may have the thought process, well, all of our sixth graders will do the launch lesson, then all of our seventh graders will do academic application and real world. So there's just flexibility in how you engage in the lesson levels. High school, we've shortened it a little bit because of the more developmentally appropriate to introduce the strategies in an academic format. And then we still have our real world application. So instead of 3 levels at high school, there's 2 levels. Similar to what Sophia showed you, it's very engaging with videos, scenarios, choose your own path, drag and drop matching, interactive whiteboards. It's just constantly keeping students engaged with the content by, showing different variations of the strategy. We have our SMARTS made videos, which are, our content. And then we've also brought in to the middle school and high school YouTube videos, TED Talks that are relevant and appropriate and engaging for our students. Our handouts are still there. So we still have our SMARTS handouts, as Sophia said, compatible with LMS and fillable handouts as well as printable. And then here we are. I'm going to, I can probably show a little bit of each one, but I just wanted to show you the structure of the lesson is similar in terms of how it's formatted, but you'll see the sophistication is a little bit different. So if you're jumping into, this is a middle school lesson on the organizing with the 4Cs, here are your lesson levels at the top. So you may be starting with the launch, or you may want to jump in a real world application right off the bat. And what's nice about these 3 lessons, they don't build upon each other. So if you might be like, you know what, I'm gonna hook my kids and get the buy-in with the real world application because the strategy is still taught in every lesson. So you're still going to learn the 4C strategy, whether you do it in the launch, academic, or real world. So the materials are there for your taking as well, but you click into the lesson to start it. And the as you can see, it's a little bit more of a sophisticated interface, but just like elementary, you've got your teacher prep section and your lesson broken down into these, 10 to 15 minute components or chapters on the side. What I like about it is you can kind of see where you are. So as you're moving through the lesson, this is a teacher facing teacher prep. I'm getting everything I need. I'm learning what these buttons stand for that pop up, the scaffolding, the challenge portfolio stuff. But I can see that I've already done. So if I do the activator, if I'm activating and I stop at the end of the activator, my little circle will fill. And then I can find out if tomorrow morning I'm doing another 10 minutes and I'm just going to the guided instruction, I can see where I left off. That's a nice feature of the curriculum, but it's very visually engaging. I'm going to close this because this is nicer to look at. And we have these little, buttons that pop up to provide extensions if your kids are really engaged, or there's also support buttons as well that offer that kind of extra support or prompts, or if your students have questions, here's how to answer. So guided instruction, we model the strategy. So in this case, it's the 4Cs. How can you use the 4C strategy? What is it? Clean, customize, categorize, continue. How can we help Maria? So kids are choosing her paths. There's some note-taking templates in there for support or scaffolding for kids who may need that working memory going. Again, our videos, kind of you can just click and play and they just start right away. You don't have to leave the curriculum to get to them. And then these little quick knowledge checks at the end are fun. So putting things in order. So you can kind of see how the curriculum is designed. The way the handouts kind of pop up in the middle school and high school is you could have gotten them before from the materials section, but you can also grab them right from the lesson itself. So they pop up kind of in a button format, and we also give a screenshot so that, oh, this is the handout they're doing. Okay, they can see it. If it's in a pile on their desk, they can grab it, or if it's on their LMS, and then you can actually jump right to the handout if you need it quickly last minute. The button brings you there, and you can send this right to your students, or you could fill it out as a class if you don't have time for students to work on it together. You could say we're gonna do this one together. So there's just a lot of teacher ease in grabbing materials and working through the curriculum. We've had a lot of great feedback that teachers are able to leave this for support staff or substitute teachers to kind of click and go. We have our strategy reflection sheets where students are reflecting on a strategy after a few days of working on it. So maybe you've done all 3 lesson levels, or you're just, you're working on having them apply the 4Cs to different academic assignments. And then they reflect on it through strategy reflection sheets. And we have extensions here as well. Similar to what Sophia showed you, we have extensions at the high school and middle school level. So if you're looking for more of those, how can the math teacher kind of swoop in and support our 4C strategy? There's math and science activities and ELA and social science community engagement activities. There's so much to choose from at your fingertips here. So there's a little glimpse inside of a launch lesson. Again, real world and academic are very, very similar. They're just the content is about the real world, like the world is how can I use the four C's? How can I learn how to clean and organize myself outside of school? So it's thinking about systems that are organized that we use every day, and our servers, our libraries, our kitchens, our grocery store. So it's like bridging that gap. For the sake of time, I'm not going to dive in too much deeper, but that's the structure, that's the platform, that's the engagement, and high school almost exactly the same in terms of how it looks. Again, it's just the different levels. We only have two, and the content is more sophisticated. The videos are more developmentally appropriate. The handouts and the knowledge checks and assessments are more at that high school level. But again, like we've said before quite a few times, that we are really flexible with our curriculum in terms of we understand that there's that gray area. So you have the ability to try and look and see what's best for your students, whether it's high school, middle school, or elementary school. Okay, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry about that. Clicking too many buttons, moving ahead of myself here. All right. So we are just about within the last 10 minutes, and the only thing that I have left to share with you before Q&A is just who's using it right now. So we have, again, our middle school curriculum is out there and being used by lots of public schools, independent schools, homeschool educators, special educators, clinicians, and our pilots kind of following the same trajectory for our middle school. I mean, our high school and our elementary programs are being piloted by lots of different levels. In terms of what kind of schools are piloting them, who's piloting them, and the tiers of support are we service the whole scope. So you can see that there are tier 3 people using a curriculum, tier 2 and tier 1. And then teachers, we've just had a lot of great feedback. We love to hear the word love when they talk about Connect. We love to hear that their discussions are up. I mean, especially at the middle school and high school level, if you can get your kids talking about this stuff, that is huge. So the discussion questions in the curriculum, the engagement through the videos, we're getting, grades of 100% very effective with some of our most popular lessons. Teachers are appreciating the engagement, the focus on self-awareness, and the handouts, the thoughtful approach to the handouts. And we always love a good testimonial. So here's some testimonials. I don't need to read them out loud to you, but just about the interest at the elementary level, elementary independent coaches, hands-on materials to guide them, differentiation is there for them. In some middle schools, they like the again the discussion questions and the active thinking about the choices they make. Opportunities for reflection has been popular. Connecting their strengths and challenges outside of school, using goal setting for reading chronicles. Just at the high school level, the reflection has been one of the most powerful tools. Reflecting on the strategy use and application and how that bridges to their academics. So next steps, here we are, we're at the end. We are super excited to launch our high school and our elementary programs in August. And because you're here and you're interested in executive function and you're here to see the Connect and classic programs or the comparison of, if you sign up now for one of our Connect licenses, then there's a $100 discount through June 15th. So we want to honor you guys taking the time out of your day by giving you this discount. So you also can grab some free lessons off our website on this QR code. So if you go to the SMARTS website or just type in smarts-ef.org, you can grab free lessons from all of our Connect levels, even the ones that aren't technically available yet. So you can see what is, I want to see what a whole lesson looks like at the elementary, middle, and high school. And then that might help you make some choices. You can check it out. But if you do sign up between now and June 15th, you'll get $100 off that educator license. So I think that is it. I'm going to go back a slide because this is the most important, that you took time out of your very busy May Day, May Day. That's how I feel. It is very busy time of year. So thank you for being here for this hour. You are going to receive this recording. So if you want to watch it again or show it to other colleagues who may not have been able to be here today, we highly encourage you to do so. So it will take us a day or two just to download the video and get it polished up and sent out to you. But thank you. Thank you for being here, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have at this point. Or any questions that came up in the chat. Megan, I don't know if you've got any for me. Oh, you're muted, Megan.
Sorry about that.
Good stuff.
Does the license last 1 year or longer? Good question. You want to answer that, Jess?
I believe the license is for 1 year, but there's a renewal, like there's a, discounted renewal each time you renew. I think I'm not I'm not a salesperson, but I know that I know I've heard that yes, you renew it every year. It's annual renewal, but there is a discounted renewal um, process there. So, and again, it's the license is per educator, not per student. So if you are teaching it to a small group, a class of 25, it's just one license for you to teach to as many students as you have in front of you.
We have logistical questions, scope and sequence, and then the cost.
So scope and sequence, I'm not meaning like how, I guess, well, a few things, like you don't have to go in order, right? So those units 1 through 7. I mean, we would say yes, maybe unit 1 is a great place to start because that introduces the language, what is metacognition, what is executive function, what is a clogged funnel. But again, using that metacog, if you're talking about elementary or middle school, high school or middle school, using that metacog to help set up your scope and sequence based on your class results as a powerful tool. But we also have fantastic onboarding, professional development, coaching that we can hop on calls with you. You can tell us who you're working with, what grade levels, and we can help you develop that scope and sequence personally. And then what was the other one, Megan? Cost?
Yeah, costs.
Cost. I think, no, shoot, I hope there's a salesperson because I don't have my notes in front of me. I hope there's someone here from sales. I think.
I'm here.
Oh, Lindsay, you're
Hi.
saving the day. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm not in a spot where I can come on camera
Oh,
because
that's okay. Thank you. I'm like, where's my
busy.
sticky note? What's the cost, Lindsay?
Okay, so SMARTS Elementary, the Connect program, $645 per educator for the first year, renewable at $479. I'll put this all in the chat. And then the middle school and high school programs are priced the same with those including the Metacog, $775 per educator for year 1, renewable at $549. So I'll put that in the chat, but I'll also put my email. So if someone has a salesy question, they can tell me.
Thank you, Lindsay. I
No,
appreciate that. And don't forget that $100 off if you
True.
between now and you take $100 off that. And yeah, the Metacog is included with that high school and middle school license.
Lindsay, while you're on, does
Yeah.
my cover to teach multiple classes? I'll be the only one teacher implementing it, but I can target different, I can target different grades.
Yeah, sure. So it's technically 2 separate licenses if you needed, like if you're a K-8 educator and you wanted the elementary and the middle school, or if you're a junior, senior high and you wanted middle school, high school, they're considered 2 separate licenses, but we will work with you to get you a discount so that you don't have to pay full price for both. But that will be again something I can let me put my email in the chat so that if anybody needs to hang up, they can reach out that way. And then I will paste the pricing for those each individual licenses in there as well.
Thank you, Lindsay. Yeah, I mean, we've had teachers use it like multiple, if you're licensed, so if you're working with a 6th grade group, gen ed class, and then you take you're using the middle school curriculum again with an eighth grade group in a small classroom set, maybe like a EF skills group. It's your license, so you can show it to us. Your license is any students that you were in front of, you would be able to share that curriculum with. And again, when you're leading the lesson, this is not like the students are not it's not click through the lesson. You're guiding them and leading them through these lessons. So every time you open that lesson, it's like a refresher. So then the handouts, everything is starting over. So if you're watching videos or you're doing drag and drops, and then you go to another class to teach the same thing, it starts over. So you don't have to worry about um, you know, it's not a student license, so it covers more of your population. Got it, Megan?
Um, I'm gonna look at it right now. All right,
Yeah,
so
feel free to unmute yourselves, guys, and just yell out too. I can't see everyone because actually, so can you unshare?
yeah, this is actually a great one.
Yeah.
Do you need any outside trainings through you in order to be proficient in the curriculum? Do you offer trainings to be certified in EF coaching?
Yes, 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 and yes. We have a tremendous amount of professional development options that cater to what you need. So again, my email, I should put that in the chat.
Okay.
My email, or I don't know, maybe it's already been done. But there are so many people that can support you. Our director of professional development. We can set up any sort of. We have PD packages that cater to starting from scratch with executive function, or if you're an executive function school who's already done a SMARTS Classic and you just need Connect training, we have that available too. But we have quite a bit of PD and lots of options. So we encourage you to reach out because we can, again, create the package that's best for you. And coaching along the way is really powerful too. We do our coaching kind of we recommend starting with PD, and then we'll set up like coaching or touch points throughout your use of the curriculum during the school year to see how we can support you. So that's been really popular as well.